Welcome to the debate. Are we witnessing the world's first AI-driven war?
It certainly looks that way.
Yeah. The current rapidly evolving conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran has really pushed advanced technology to the absolute forefront of global security. We are looking at a battlefield that is increasingly defined by algorithms.
Right. And recent reports are detailing the military's use of artificial intelligence to drastically accelerate what we call the kill chain. We're seeing the deployment of advanced automated targeting systems like Israel's the Gospel. And on the digital front, a massive surge of AI-generated misinformation. Even video game footage is being passed off as real combat.
Exactly. It forces us to ask a central question today. Does the integration of AI into modern warfare offer a profound tactical and logistical advantage that significantly enhances operational precision and endurance?
Or does it introduce unacceptable risks and a loss of shared reality that inherently destabilize global security?
Precisely. Now, my position is that artificial intelligence represents an indispensable evolution in military capability. I believe it fundamentally improves logistical endurance, compresses decision timelines, and ultimately reduces human error on the battlefield.
And I represent the perspective that the rush to automate warfare severely compromises human accountability in life-and-death decisions while simultaneously polluting the information ecosystem with dangerous, conflict-escalating misinformation.
To understand why AI is a necessary and frankly life-saving tactical advantage, we really have to look at how modern combat actually functions. The traditional military kill chain, the process of finding a target, determining its importance, tracking it, selecting a weapon, and assessing the strike, that process has historically taken days, sometimes weeks.
Sure.
But with AI, that timeline is shrinking to mere milliseconds. We are seeing this clearly with systems like Hapsora or the Gospel, which is utilized by Israeli intelligence. It's a massive data processing platform. It integrates vast intelligence gathered from surveillance networks and past military records to identify targets at a speed human analysts simply can't match.
But speed isn't inherently a virtue if it removes judgment.
Operational readiness. It ensures that naval and air fleets are maintained at a faster cadence, sustaining the endurance required for extended combat operations. And ultimately, I'd argue human error is a far greater risk than algorithmic error. We only need to look at tragic historical mistakes like the Friendly Fire incident where American forces accidentally shot down their own helicopters, or the Kuwaiti incident involving F-15s to see the flaws in human judgment under fatigue and pressure. AI decreases those errors exponentially.
I look at the exact same timeline compression you're praising, shrinking decisions from days to milliseconds, and I see an unprecedented crisis of accountability.
How so?
Because that speed is exactly what eliminates the capacity for meaningful human judgment. When algorithms dictate targeting at that scale, human operators cannot possibly understand the complex real-world nuances of a strike. Furthermore, it remains entirely unclear who is accountable when an automated system makes a fatal mistake.
There are guardrails in place, though.
Are there? We are already seeing major AI firms pushing back against this trajectory. Anthropic, a leading AI company, recently refused further military contracts because of concerns over the Pentagon's push to eventually remove human review from lethal decisions.
Right, but
And the subsequent pivot to OpenAI signals a deeply concerning willingness by militaries to bypass those guardrails. And the danger isn't even confined to the physical battlefield. We are facing a critical issue in the information war. State-sponsored influence campaigns are utilizing AI to generate hyper-realistic disinformation. This actively warps public perception, creating an environment where a fabricated video could trigger a real-world military escalation.
let's unpack the kill chain argument first, because I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the human operator is actually doing here. The argument that humans are being sidelined assumes that in the past, human analysts were operating with perfect context and infinite time. In a theater of war, neither of those exists.
But they were operating with human intuition and an understanding of on-the-ground reality, which code simply does not possess.
They were operating with severe cognitive overload. Human linear thinking is incredibly susceptible to fatigue, to bias, and to panic. What AI tools do is filter mountains of intercept data to provide highly precise options. Let's look at the gospel system you brought up. According to recent reports, this system can rapidly identify and produce over 200 potential targets within just 10 to 12 days. It categorizes structures, it identifies individuals linked to militant activity.
Right.
The fact that a system can generate hundreds of targets doesn't mean the human operator is irrelevant. It means the human is freed from the impossible task of finding the needle in the haystack. They can focus their cognitive load entirely on the final decision, whether to authorize the strike.
Hold on, let's look at the reality of that oversight. You just said the machine is generating 200 targets in a matter of days. If an algorithm says a structure is a high-value threat based on a vast, opaque ecosystem of interconnected surveillance data cell, phone pings, drone footage, intercepted communications, what is the human actually checking?
They are verifying the proportionality and the immediate visual context. They act as the final check on a highly refined system.
But how can they genuinely verify the math? If the machine processed 1 billion data points in a millisecond to arrive at that target, the human operator doesn't have the time or, frankly, the raw cognitive ability to rerun that analysis. They are effectively reduced to a rubber stamp. They are trusting the machine's output because the machine is too complex to audit in real time. That isn't meaningful oversight. That's a psychological comfort blanket.
I completely disagree that it's just a comfort blanket. The human might not be able to rerun the billion data points, but they understand the strategic objective and the immediate collateral risks in a way the AI doesn't have to. The AI does the heavy lifting of correlation, the human applies the judgment. And this brings us to the tech industry pivot you mentioned, which I think you are misinterpreting.
You mean the military moving from Anthropic to OpenAI?
Exactly. You framed Anthropic's refusal to supply their Claude AI for certain military contracts as proof that the military wants autonomous killing machines. It's not that simple. Anthropic has a very strict internal policy requiring humans to always review a decision. The Pentagon's pivot to OpenAI isn't a malicious desire to bypass safety. It reflects the reality of modern defense procurement.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning the military-industrial complex is no longer just reliant on traditional defense contractors like Lockheed or Raytheon. They are now fundamentally dependent on Silicon Valley startups. Diversifying AI investments ensures the military isn't beholden to the shifting internal corporate philosophies of a single tech CEO while still maintaining operational superiority.
But doesn't that just prove the point? The underlying insight there is staggering. We have sovereign militaries modifying their operational infrastructure based on the terms of service agreements of private tech companies. Anthropic said, "We demand a human meaningfully in the loop for lethal action." The military decided that was too restrictive and found a vendor who would accommodate them. As one cybersecurity expert noted regarding this exact trajectory, eventually, humans will not only not be needed in the loop, they won't actually be wanted.
I think that's a leap.
They are a bottleneck to the speed of the algorithm. That is the inevitability of relying on systems designed to operate faster than human cognition.
I'll give you that. The reliance on commercial tech firms is a new and complex paradigm, but it completely ignores the broader, less flashy operational realities where AI is truly shifting the balance of power. I'm talking about logistics and endurance.
The supply chain argument?
Yes, because as the saying goes, amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. The 2026 defense policy clearly aligns with the idea that winning a long-term conflict relies on our ability to keep forces on the front line. It frankly does not matter if you have the world's most advanced air force if only half of your planes are mission capable at any given time due to maintenance backlogs. AI levels the playing field here in a way that kinetic strikes don't.
How so?
By achieving higher operational readiness. We are talking about predictive maintenance, algorithms that know a specific part on an F-35 is going to fail 3 weeks before it actually breaks, and autonomously routing that part to the correct forward operating base. We are talking about coordinating autonomous drone swarms, where the software manages the battery life, the refueling matrix, and the deployment schedules without a human needing to track every single asset. If a smaller military uses these tools to manage their fleet, they can effectively out-endure a larger, less optimized adversary. War is ultimately a battle of endurance. Maximizing the assets we have through AI supply chain management is how modern conflicts will actually be won.
You keep praising the logistical efficiency of these systems, but that very efficiency is a massive vulnerability. Let's talk about those supply chains. You cannot separate the logistical AI from the broader automated threat matrix it enables. When you build a massive, automated infrastructure to predict F-35 maintenance, you are building a massive, interconnected digital target.
A target that is defended by equally sophisticated cybersecurity.
Defended, yes, but also constantly probed. This expands our vulnerabilities exponentially through automated cyber warfare. Previously, executing deep, complex cyber attacks on manufacturing processes or design infrastructures required massive human capital. You needed millions of dollars and incredibly specialized teams of hackers working for months to find a zero-day exploit. Today, AI agents can execute those attacks autonomously. They can hunt for vulnerabilities in an adversary's power grid or automated maintenance logistics with a breadth and depth that is frankly shocking.
But that is exactly why we have to stay at the absolute cutting edge of artificial intelligence ourselves. We have to deploy defensive AI agents. You cannot fight an algorithmic cyber attack with human coders typing on keyboards. They are too slow.
I'm not denying the necessity of defense once the box is opened, but I am pointing out that we are inviting a scenario where algorithms are fighting an invisible war beneath the surface. When an AI is autonomously hunting for a zero-day exploit in an automated naval shipyard, it is continuously escalating the conflict without direct human instruction. This unseen digital battleground makes geopolitics vastly more unpredictable.
I would argue it makes deterrence more robust, provided our systems are superior. But let's look at unpredictability.
We don't even need to look beneath the surface for unpredictability. We can look right at the epistemological collapse of the battlefield itself. We are losing our basic, shared grip on reality. Let's look at what is happening right now in the information space surrounding the US, Israel, and Iran. Have you seen the War Thunder incident?
I have, and it's certainly a glaring example of the information problem.
Glaring is an understatement. For the listeners who miss this, there was a viral clip going around claiming to be a U.S. warship shooting down an Iranian fighter jet. It looked incredibly dramatic. It racked up over 7 million views on social media in a matter of hours. A sitting U.S. governor literally shared this video on his official channels, thinking it was real combat footage.
Before quietly deleting it, yes.
Right. And an international news agency had to launch a formal investigation into the video. Do you know what they found? It was a screen recording from a military simulation video game called War Thunder, and not even a modern simulation. The footage actually depicted a decommissioned 1910s American dreadnought shooting at a World War II-era German plane. The fact that a video game clip of a century-old battleship shooting down a Nazi fighter plane can be passed off as a modern conflict between the US and Iran and actually fool a government official is absurd, and it's terrifying.
It is a profound embarrassment for the official who shared it, certainly. And I will concede the serious nature of the misinformation. We've even seen major tech tools fail here. Google Lens's AI overview recently summarized images of a 2025 Abu Dhabi fire, and the AI falsely suggested it showed the aftermath of recent Iranian strikes. It also mistakenly identified video game footage from Arma 3 as U.S.-Israeli strikes. So the pollution of the information environment is real.
And it's not just gamers looking for clicks or Google making a mistake. State actors are actively weaponizing this. We are seeing Russian-aligned influence operations, groups identified as Operation Overload or Storm 1679. For those unfamiliar, these are highly coordinated state-backed bot networks that spam the internet with synthetic media to drown out real news. They recently created a completely fake, AI-generated video of a burning high-rise in Bahrain, falsely claiming it was struck by an Iranian missile. They impersonate real intelligence agencies online to spread fake warnings. When you combine this sheer volume of AI slop with the heavy internet censorship in places like Iran, it creates an absolute information vacuum.
I agree, the landscape is fraught. However, the conclusion to draw from this is not that we should halt the tactical battlefield advantages of artificial intelligence. This challenge requires better media literacy, stronger verification tools, and platform accountability, not a retreat from technological advancement. We already have frameworks emerging to combat this.
Frameworks like what?
Bohemia Interactive, the developer of the game Arma 3 that keeps getting used in these fake videos, actually published excellent guidelines for the public on how to spot fake combat footage. They tell people to look for very low resolutions because bad actors compress the video to hide pixelation. They warn people to look for exaggerated camera shake or heads-up display elements visible in the corners of the screen. They even point out unnatural particle effects, like oddly separated cloudlets in explosions, because video game physics engines still struggle with realistic smoke dynamics. If we educate the public and our intelligence communities to look for these artifacts, we can mitigate these risks.
I have to stop you there. You want a guy looking at his phone on a train commute to check for oddly separated cloudlets? That is our defense against the collapse of global truth during a geopolitical crisis?
It is a component of media literacy, yes.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. You are putting the entire burden of verification on civilians staring at small screens while foreign state actors pump out billions of synthetic images and hundreds of thousands of hours of fake video. As experts at RMIT University have noted, the majority of people consume this content quickly. They do not have the opportunity, the time, or the training to scrutinize a video for realistic particle physics before they hit retweet or share.
Which is why social media platforms also bear responsibility. We need policies requiring digital watermarks or disclosures on AI-generated conflict footage.
But the technology is moving vastly faster than our institutional response. By the time a platform identifies and tags a video as fake, it has already been viewed 10 million times. When people stop trusting evidence, we face massive societal discord. We reach a point where leaders begin making decisions based on public outrage fueled by a fabrication. If our primary defense against an AI-driven military escalation is hoping people read a video game developer's checklist for rendering errors, we are in incredibly dangerous territory. The consequences of a population or a government official being duped by AI propaganda could be a real, kinetic military response that costs thousands of actual lives.
I hear your concern, and the stakes are undeniably high. But we must recognize that information warfare, deception, and propaganda have existed as long as human conflict itself. AI has certainly changed the speed and the fidelity of the deception, but it hasn't changed the fundamental nature of it. Throughout our discussion, my stance has been consistent. We cannot abandon the logistical and life-saving precision of military AI simply because bad actors are misusing generative AI on social media.
It's not just misuse on social media. It's the core integration of the technology into the mechanisms of war.
But that integration is an essential evolution. By compressing the kill chain and allowing systems like the Gospel to process massive troves of intelligence, militaries are achieving unmatched speed. We are replacing the fatigue and cognitive limits of human operators with the exponential processing power of algorithms. Furthermore, the true staying power of a military force lies in its operational readiness, an area where AI provides unparalleled endurance for our fleets and supply chains. When properly managed, AI sharpens military precision, minimizes collateral damage, and ultimately saves lives. It is a tool of optimization that we simply cannot afford to cede to our adversaries.
And my position remains that the profound risks far outweigh the optimizations you are describing. The deployment of artificial intelligence in warfare is dangerously eroding meaningful human accountability. Shrinking the kill chain to milliseconds and replacing human analysis with algorithmic targeting models strips the ethical weight from life and death decisions. It turns operators into mere observers of autonomous systems, rubber-stamping math they cannot comprehend. At the same time, this technology is weaponizing the information ecosystem. Between state-sponsored disinformation campaigns, AI-generated strikes on civilian infrastructure, and the viral spread of military simulations passed off as reality, objective truth is becoming the first casualty of this new era of war. We are trading our moral judgment and our shared reality for tactical speed.
Despite our strong disagreements on the balance of these risks, I think we have reached a point of convergence on one fundamental truth. Artificial intelligence has irrevocably altered the speed, the nature, and the perception of modern conflict. The battlefield of today, both physical and digital, is fundamentally different than it was even a decade ago.
I completely agree with that. There is no putting the genie back in the bottle. And we also clearly agree that the technology is currently advancing far faster than our media literacy and our legal frameworks can keep up with. Where we continue to diverge, however, is on the ultimate cost. I remain unconvinced that the immense tactical and logistical benefits you've outlined can ever truly justify the systemic risks to human judgment and global stability.
And I maintain that adapting to those risks is the only viable path forward, because the tactical advantages are simply too critical to survival to ignore. It is a tension that defense departments, technology firms, and society at large will have to navigate very carefully. Examining this conflict through both a tactical and an ethical lens is incredibly valuable, as algorithms increasingly dictate the physical maneuvers on the battlefield and shape the digital information space we consume at home. The true cost of automated warfare is a subject that demands ongoing, rigorous exploration.
Will future wars be fought entirely by autonomous machines instead of human soldiers? Or will humanity find a way to keep its judgment intact while wielding these algorithms? It's a question that currently has no easy answers. We leave it to you, our listeners, to weigh the evidence, explore the material further, and form your own conclusions.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on The Debate.